Hi, I'm Mike Richter, and today we're going to be talking about opportunity costs. This is one of the most important lessons in the field of economics and something that we can apply to our everyday lives. And if you stay to the very end of the video, you'll find the number one reason why opportunity costs are so important in our lives. So, as an overview, first we'll talk about what an opportunity cost is. Then I'll give you a few examples of how you can apply it in your life. And then finally, I'll follow up with the most important example of why opportunity costs are so important in life. So what is an opportunity cost? That's whenever you make a choice, the opportunity cost is the cost that you pay or what you give up to pursue the choice that you're making. It applies across all facets of life, and it's most commonly applied in the fields of economics and investing. So just a really quick example is if you have $1 and you want to get a candy bar, but you also want to get a bottle of water, most of the time, if you have just $1, you won't be able to get the candy bar and the bottle of water. So you'll have to make a decision of whether you want the candy bar, the bottle of water, or to keep the $1 for another time. So let's talk about the first example that's pretty common, and that's college. Right? So for the 2016-2017 school year, the average cost for a four-year degree is $20,000 per year for in-state tuition to a four-year school, including room and board. So for a four-year degree, we're talking $80,000. Now there's a couple of different ways we can look at this example in terms of opportunity cost. The first way is, what could you have done with that 4 years? Assuming that you went ahead and focused entirely on your studies and maybe some of the experiential parts of being in college, what could you have done with those 4 years? Are you in a field of study where your 4 years are rewarded with much higher salaries based on just having a degree? Or are you in a field of study where it's mandatory for you to have a degree in order for you to get a job in your field? Another thing to look at is, what could you have done with that $80,000? And would that have made more of a difference in terms of your earning power or in terms of your quality of life than attending the four-year university would have? And another way to look at it even further is, how many years will it take to get a return on your investment in terms of the money cost and then in terms of the amount of time you spent to go to college? That's something that everybody has to take a look at, and it's one of the reasons why we're making pretty unique decisions in terms of college for our children. So let's move on to the second example. This is a simple saving and spending kind of example. Say you've got $50 in spending money, and you have a choice, and you're at the store, and you say, man, I really want this, whatever. Maybe you're interested in a video game, or maybe you want a drill or something like that. Well, you can get this toy today, or you can save that $50 and not buy the toy. What are the things that happen when you make these decisions? Well, if you decide to buy the toy and you use your $50 to get it, well, now you don't have $50 to spend on something else that might be a better deal for you or might give you more pleasure and enjoyment. However, you get the advantage of being able to enjoy the thing that you bought right now. Now, what could you get for that $50 at another time? Well, we don't really know, but the trick is, a lot of times when we make these decisions about whether we're going to buy something, very often we don't consider whether or not there's a better deal out there, especially for smaller ticket items like a video game. So that's something to take into consideration with your buying decisions. And the third example would be investing. So say you have $10,000 available to invest, and three options that you're familiar with in terms of investing might be getting a certificate of deposit from the bank. Right now, the average rate for a certificate of deposit for a 5-year holding period is 2.25%, guaranteed and locked. So it's guaranteed return of 2.25%. You won't lose any money because it's insured. However, you're locked in for a five-year period of time. you can withdraw, but then you take a penalty on that money. So over 1 year, you will have earned $225 on a certificate of deposit, but then you're stuck having to have that money locked in for that next 4 years. You might invest in dividend stocks, where you can assume maybe a 5% combined gain and dividend. So after a year, you could expect to have gained $500. That's a lot better than the CD, plus it's not locked in. However, you don't have the guarantee associated with it being federally insured like a certificate of deposit might be. Or maybe you're still renting and you've got that $10,000 and maybe you're able to house hack. In my local market area, we have a few duplexes and triplexes on the market where you can get a triplex with 3 one-bedroom, one-bath dwellings for about $100,000. Well, if you get a 5% discount and put 10% down, you're looking at rent-free living. If you've got a 30-year mortgage at 4%, you're looking at paying off $1.4 thousand. And if you get 2% appreciation, which is a little below the national average for appreciation of property, you're looking at an equity gain of 3.4K. That is significantly more than either of the previous two options, but it takes a little bit more finesse, it takes more understanding, and there's a little bit more risk involved. So there are 3 different ways that you can look at how you're going to invest in this circumstance. In reality, you have all these different investment options available to you, but just for the sake of the example to illustrate what an opportunity cost is, I gave you these 3. Now, before we move on to the next and final example, I just really want to thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. Now, let's look at the last example. Your most important thing that you take opportunity costs on every day is the use of your time. Your time is incredibly important, and by watching this video and other videos that I put out there, you're investing in you. You're investing in learning, you're investing in finding new and better ways to look at money and to look at real estate investing. But that's not the only way you can invest your time. You can invest your time making you better, but you can also invest in relationships, like your relationship with your spouse, or your relationship with your kids, or deepening friendships. These are different things that you can do to use your time. But in order to do those things, you have to give up other things you could be doing with your time, like watching cat videos, because everybody loves cat videos, right? Think about that. All the time that you spend on some of the entertainment that you consume on a regular basis, is that time well spent? Well, sometimes you need to unwind, but how much is too much, and what could you be doing with that time instead? There's a huge opportunity cost associated with purely doing things for entertainment value. So that's something to think about. Just to recap, we talked about what an opportunity cost is. That's the cost you pay for pursuing a decision instead of something else you could be doing. And we also talked about examples like college. What could you be doing with the money that you spend on tuition, room, and board? What could you be doing with the 4 years that you spend on a 4-year degree? We also talked about spending. Is it better to get that toy or save for later and check to see if you might get a better deal? Depends on what your circumstances are. And we also talked about investing. What are the right investment vehicles for you based on what your circumstances are? And what do you give up in exchange for pursuing one thing or the next? And we talked about the most important example of paying opportunity costs, and that's with time. So make sure that you're making the wise use of your time. And if you think that you made wise use of your time by watching this video, by all means, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, share it with your family and friends so that they can get some value out of it too. If you'd like to see more content from me and my channel, by all means, go ahead and hit subscribe. If you'd like to get regular updates about new things that are happening on the channel, by all means, go ahead and click the little bell symbol next to the subscribe button that shows up. and change your notification settings as appropriate. And by all means, if you've got any questions or comments, go ahead and leave them in the comment section down below. Thank you once again so much for your time. I hope you have a fantastic day.